Okay, Mike, yes, we're keeping our focus on that committee which has been inaugurated yesterday. It's the new Electoral Reform Committee. We're joined this morning to shed some light on that. Senator Ayo Arishe, who is the former chairman, Senate Committee on Privatization. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we also did hear Senator Namani there talk about the fact that no matter how good the Justice Uwe's report may have been, nothing is so good that it can be improved upon. While that may be true, but you have many who also say, but they haven't even touched it, this government, with a poll. So, how come?
Well, certainly Senator Ken Namani has a point that anything can be improved upon. But my worry is the fact that the Justice Uwe's report was actually brought to the Senate or to the National Assembly for review, and some of the points were actually implemented in the electoral laws of 2010, 2011. Whatever Senator Namani does with this committee will still have to be approved or incorporated into the electoral law before it can become binding. So I don't really think that it's left to the president to approve the outcome of this committee. It's something that still has to go to the National Assembly, because this is an electoral law. You want to make fundamental changes to it, it will still go there. So the issue of whether the politicians or the elected officials are willing to abide by the outcome of the committee is a question that we have. The last one, we looked at it. Many of the recommendations were actually implemented. A lot were not. And I cannot see any different fit, from the outcome of what Senator Namani will be doing. For us, I think we know the problems of elections in Nigeria. The rigging problems, the smashing problems. Some of those were addressed, through the accreditation, electronic accreditation system, the introduction of the fingerprint system, and some of the fingerprint solution actually did not work because
the DTC.
Yes, because we had some problems on the field. I spoke with them at the Electoral Commission. The LCT person said they are trying to improve on it to ensure that some of those problems are eliminated. But we have better technology. So that is why I agree with Senator Namani. It can be improved upon. We have better technology.
Did you just say that many of the recommendations in Justice Uwe's report were adopted by the National Assembly?
Yes, many were adopted. As a matter of fact, while we were trying to review the electoral law, we took a good look at the Uwe's report. And I believe some of the outcomes, the major ones that were not really implemented, talking about the special courts for prosecuting electoral offenders. If we have the will, then electoral offenders can be prosecuted successfully if you're able to establish and catch them. But I think it's the responsibility of the government to ensure that we do not give room for those offenses to actually occur. First, how do you snatch an electronic vote, for example? So
that's if we're voting electronically.
Exactly. How do you snatch that? So what is stopping us from adopting that? There is nothing. It's just the
so
way
if we were to vote now, you vote a yes for electronic voting?
Yes, if I were to vote. That's actually the only way to go.
But why did they oppose it at the time in the Senate?
We debated it back and forth. I was for electronic voting. But of course, the Senate voting pattern is still the majority.
So, which part of it? Was the electronic one or the voice vote?
The electronic one. Oh, in terms of voice votes, I believe that is the rigging, is the worst rigging system.
So many Nigerians thought that the National Assembly should have started voting electronically.
We have equipment there.
Yeah, because I know that the equipments were there, but we'll still go with the voice vote. If they had started that tradition with the electronic voting, perhaps they would have seen the beauty of it, so that they can now transport it
and actually take it through. Well, as a matter of fact, that is even the equipment that we have in the National Assembly is just a yes or no voting system. So we use that a number of times, but it's not convenient for the leadership. That is the way I look at it. But it's the best practice around the world. You could vote even if you are not at the sitting. Now, when you go out there to go and campaign, your people want to know how you voted on particular issues. But the way we are practicing, the way the National Assembly is operating right now, there is no room for that. And I believe we are supposed to continue to improve. So down the road, electronic voting will take up in the Senate, and it will be adopted for a voting system.
But did you say that the voice voting system in the National Assembly is the greatest rigging?
Oh, of course. Well, it's not. I mean, it's the worst practice you can imagine. Because how do you determine ayes, nays? I mean, do you have the voice? Do you have a loudspeaker system that will actually tell you this is the way it is? It gives room to a lot of laxity to the president.
Were there specific cases where you thought there was actually this kind of practice, the rigging over the voice that happened while you were in the Senate?
I mean, you just need to watch the proceedings, and you will see that even for you to get up and say you want electronic voting, or you want one-by-one voting, that is, if you object to a particular yes or no, you now start looking at it. Who are you confronting? Are you confronting the Senate president, or you are confronting some of the leadership? So invariably, it's a system that we need to, within ourselves, decide that, look, this is the best practice, and we need to see how people are voting on particular sensitive issues. There are some things you can do by voice voting. But when it comes to issues of, okay, do we need to start on electronic voting? What are the merits? What are the demerits? I mean, look at, there are so many issues confronting us as a nation. When it goes to voice voting, some people will just say nay, yea, nay. It doesn't, I don't see how that can be the best form of administering, votes in the National Assembly. No.
Okay. About this committee, this Senator Kenan Amani committee, were you suggesting that it would have been better if whatever suggestions the executive have, or whatever it is that they have seen and they think should be changed, should have been sent directly to the Senate or to the National Assembly?
That would have been the best. It would be the cheapest for the country, because at the end of the day, Senator Namani will come up with recommendations. We'll submit it to Mr. President. Mr. President cannot, by himself, change any law.
No matter the white paper that comes out?
No matter. He will have to send it to the National Assembly, and they will now make it part of the law, if it's so approved. And so, I look at it that it's the willpower of us politicians to say we want to see a change. And the change is in the voting system. If we don't go electronic, we'll continue to deceive ourselves. And people are so afraid of electronic. I don't know what the fear is about electronic voting. If you want to ensure you have one man, one vote, one man, one vote, that is the best way. Okay. Because as you are voting, it's being registered centrally, it's being registered on your terminal.
Okay, let's bring Mark Bay in on this one. Mark Bay.
Well, I was just wondering, because you have, I think you just addressed an issue I was going to ask you in terms of, would you say that, the Nnamani committee be discarded? You've answered that question, but let us look at, the composition of the committee. Some people have even raised objection, because I doubt very strongly that that committee is going to be dissolved, based on this suggestion. But some people have looked at the composition of the committee and they think that, politicians shouldn't have been the ones to, populate, as it were, the committee. Do you take issue with that?
Well, again, you are talking of experience. Those who are mostly experienced in regional politicians. And those are the ones that should be able to come up with solutions to address the way rigging is carried out. It's either you are a victim or you are a beneficiary. So I believe the issue of being a politician is not a minus. It's more like you are putting the actors to come up with a solution. But I would rather it's expanded to put people that are very knowledgeable in ICT, you see, to advise and educate the public at the end of the day. It's too late to be advocating for disbanding it, but we all know exactly what the outcome is going to be. We can predict that now.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll have more issues on this one in just a moment, so don't go away.